Only 3 days to go to get your millionaire raffle ticket before they're gone. With 1 millionaire guaranteed, over 5,500 cash prizes, and our best win odds ever, you can win it. Even your granny is learning ukulele can win it.
Oh dear.
Play responsibly in store, in-app, or at lottery.ie.
I'm a millionaire.
Welcome into Sportsmemo's NFL Every Game on the Board podcast with our first guest up, Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome into the pod. How are you?
Hey, great to be here, Drew. I'm excited for Week 17. That's how I'm doing. How about you, man? Did you have a good holiday?
I did. Good holiday, and it's still a kind of a holiday week. I was about to say Happy Friday, but doesn't even feel like Friday, does it?
It really doesn't. It's kind of weird that way this week, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and we're doing 301 down to 316, one with Cleveland, Baltimore on this segment, and then we'll be right back at it with Robbie Vino to finish off the back half of the card, guys. We're breaking down every game here, Week 17 with Teddy Covers, who Teddy this year in the NFL is 33-20, 62% this year, every play in the NFL, and since 2015, my favorite stat here, 172, 124, that's 58% in the NFL all the way back to 2015. And guys, Teddy has a 3-pack available for this weekend Sunday action. It's Teddy's Absolute Annihilator. Nope, Teddy, that's not it. It's Teddy's Tremendous Trifecta. I like that title there, Teddy. And it's discounted on the website from $65 down to $39. And with the coupon code from this podcast, Teddy19 at checkout, when you're checking out with Teddy's Tremendous Trifecta, you'll get all 3 plays for just $19 there at sportsmemo.com. That coupon code is Teddy19 at checkout for his 3-pack in the NFL on Sunday. Teddy, wanted to start off, we'll get into 301, 302 Dallas, New York Giants, but ask you first off, you've been doing the NFL for a long time now. You've been really good in recent years, one of the best out there. What have you learned that you think a lot of the listeners out there might be kind of slow to kind of pull the trigger on as far as what to look out for when betting Week 17 in the NFL?
In many ways, Week 17 of the regular season is a lot like Week 4 of the preseason. There's going to be more randomness. There's going to be weird guys on the field in the second half and in the fourth quarter of some of these games that determine point spreads. So I do, in terms of a basic overall philosophy, Week 4 of the preseason, Week 17 of the regular season, for me, I have the same overriding theme, which is I'm not looking for a ton of plays. This isn't a week to fire away at the board. This is a week to isolate, find a few matchups, find 1 or 2 or 3 matchups that really work where you have some level of confidence. Who's going to be on the field in the fourth quarter? Who cares? Who's ready to check out a little bit? That's, for me, the focus for Week 17. It's not about peppering the board. This isn't a deep card. It's about finding a handful of opportunities and seizing on those.
Okay, good stuff, Teddy. And you got 3 plays there on Sunday, the Tremendous Trifecta, and with the coupon code Teddy19 at checkout, you get all 3 for just $19. We got 301, 302 here, Teddy. Dallas, New York Giants start off the card. Total of 41, seeing 5.5 at Chris, 6 at a lot of other shops, one being Heritage, one being Jazz, and Westgate there in Vegas. That's the Giants laying at home, Teddy.
Sure, and there's certainly, Dallas is locked into their playoff positioning here. So there's certainly, the betting markets are expecting Jason Garrett not to be going balls to the wall this week. They will, of course, be hosting a game in the wild card the wild card weekend next week. Jason Garrett, quote, "The overarching theme is really anyone who is healthy is going to play in the ball game." He said his team's preparing the right way, quote, and would try to play the right way against the Giants. Zeke Elliott, in terms of playing, that's the right thing to do. That's starting the game. Garrett, in those words, saying, I'm going to play these guys, is not saying that these guys are going to finish the game. And the betting markets are certainly reacting to that in terms of the Giants laying this type of price. We saw Dallas, their last road game, in a flat spot, a no-show at Indy where they lost 23-0. So if you're playing Dallas this week, you're taking a leap of faith that, A, the starters are going to go long enough, and B, the backups are good enough to hang with the Giants team that obviously, has played fairly well down the stretch. Even last week in defeat at Indy gave the Colts everything they could handle in that ball game, a 1-point loss. But now you're talking about asking the Giants to win a game by 6 points or more. Well, go back all season. They do have one such victory against the Redskins. That's the only one all year they've had by 6 points or more.
That's a wild theme here in Week 17. I mean, they haven't covered a six-point spread more than 6. They're laying it here. What do you do? That's a tough one. We got 303-304 up next. Teddy, Oakland, Kansas City, 52.5 the total. Seeing mostly 14, so double digits here. Full 2 touchdowns. The Chiefs laying at home.
Sure, and I mean, the betting markets aren't particularly excited about backing Oakland this week. The Raiders fought on Monday night. You know, it was an emotional finale for them at home in a stadium in a city that has been, their home for many years. And now they're on a short week and traveling to KC and traveling to Arrowhead. And it's certainly, the markets are saying that what we saw from the Raiders last Monday night was a one-off. We're not likely to see a performance like that again. All that being said, I am not bullish on this Chiefs team right now. You know, they were dynamite early in the season. Why? They had playmakers. They had a quarterback who was making plays and running the basketball on grass, running a Texas Tech offense with NFL caliber superstars at all the playmaking positions. That's not the case anymore. All their wide receivers are hurt. Hunt's gone, and the offense certainly is still well above average in the NFL, but it's not this unbelievable explosive offense that you just can't stop like it was earlier in the season. It just isn't that offense right now. Now, whether the Raiders show up this week or not is another question. It's a divisional opponent. They're supposed to bring their A game. I don't think Gruden's laying down for anyone. I would not be surprised to see Oakland give KC a battle in this ball game, just the way they did in the first meeting. We're decided by a single score. Raiders haven't laid down to any of their divisional opponents yet, and this line to me looks a little bit high, even though there are major concerns about whether Oakland's actually going to show up and fight for the full 60 minutes in this one. I could only take the points with the Raiders. I do not want to lay this price with Kansas City and ask them to win. Remember, when you're laying 14, they got to win by more than 2 touchdowns. That's something the Chiefs haven't really been doing very much lately.
And Teddy, I'm going down the card here, and next up we got Carolina and New Orleans in the NFC South. Is this something the NFL has done pretty much every year in Week 17, kind of pair up division opponents? I mean, kind of hoping maybe Carolina and New Orleans, the division would come down to Week 17 in this game?
Every game. They switched it, I forget, 2-3 years ago. There's a problem with Week 17 games. It just wasn't, there was a lot of garbage. Mm-hmm. And the NFL said, all right, we'll make every Week 17 game a division game, so at least, if you don't care about the game, you at least hate your opponent. So that is something that the league consciously did a couple of years ago. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, as far as from a fan viewing standpoint, and you can see here Carolina, they were supposed to be better than they were. The Cam Newton, I believe they were the team that had the least amount of travel miles in the whole NFL. But we got 305-306 Carolina at the New Orleans Saints, 43.5 the total, seeing 7.5, even 8 with juice, but mostly let's say 7.5 the prevailing number here. That's the Saints laying in the Big Easy. Yeah,
and the Panthers have a chance to set NFL history, set a record here. It's never happened that a team started 6-2 and finished 6-10.
Okay.
So that's never happened. That's NFL history. Let's give them some credit for that. Carolina now down to their third string quarterback. Kyle Allen will be making his NFL debut. The betting market's not particularly bullish on him. And now, it's not Heineke just out and Newton just out. Kawan Short's not playing on the defensive line. Trey Turner's not playing on the offensive line. Marshall Newhouse may not protect Allen here. I don't want Carolina, and the markets don't want Carolina. It's one of these situations where, all right, well, the Saints have nothing to play for, and they might not be going all out here, and they have a bye next week, and the markets, we've seen a trickle of money on the Panthers, but not oftentimes you'll see in a spot like New Orleans is in here with a coach in Sean Payton has a track record of taking these games fairly easily. When you look back long term at New Orleans, when they've had these bye situations. Week 17 has been, there've been a lot of letdowns. Let's just put it that way. A lot of no-shows in these type of contests. Although last time they were in the postseason, prior to last year, they lost to Week 17 as against Tampa, 6-point chalk. Prior to that, they did have a blowout win in Week 17, but that has been the exception rather than the rule for Sean Payton and company. So while Carolina isn't playing anyone, has cluster injuries everywhere, and we got a young QB getting his first taste of NFL action, we're still seeing a little bit of Panthers money because there's not a lot of market respect for the Saints in the same way in Week 17. There easily could be a spot here where Sean Payton pulls some guys pretty early in this one, and the market's reflecting that.
Next game up, we got another situation that guys might be pulled pretty early. The best team in the AFC East versus the worst team in the AFC East. New York Jets at the New England Patriots. 46 the total, seeing 13.5. That's the Pats laying in Foxborough.
Well, the Patriots, Belichick, unlike Peyton, has no history of sitting guys in Week 17, and he wants to play. Of course, it's a Patriots team that, yes, they've clinched the division title. They have not clinched a bye week.
A bye week. Good point, Eddie.
And this is a New England team that has had a first-round bye, I think, every year since 2009. It's been unbelievable. Every year this decade. Maybe it was 2010.
Yes.
They've had a bye every single.
Yeah, since the Miami Dolphins one. I believe that was like Ronnie Brown that year, and that was 2008. So, yeah, since 2009 on, they've won the AFC East, right?
Well, more than that, they've had the bye every year.
Yeah.
The 1 or the 2 seed every single season, and it looks like that the case this year. Look, the Jets fought hard last 2 weeks. They gave Houston a battle at home and ended up falling short in that one. Last week gave Green Bay everything they could handle, but the miscues, penalties, franchise record in penalties really cost them, both at the latter stages of regulation into OT. So if you're taking the Jets here, you're taking a leap of faith that it's a divisional opponent. And the fact is, when you go back during this entire span, the last decade, Jets obviously play the Patriots twice a year. At least one of the 2 meetings has been a single-digit decision in every season. The Jets haven't necessarily they've given New England not trouble, but they've been able to hang around with the Patriots at least once every year. And of course, the first win between these 2 teams this season was a New England blowout. We all know Belichick's track record against opposing rookie QBs, although last week, again, the Patriots dominated the Bills in every way a team can be dominated, and yet without Tom Brady connecting downfield, the passing game was way out of sync, and they weren't putting up points in bunches and left a window open for Buffalo to come in through the back door. And, right now, Sam Darnold certainly is a downfield passer, is a good notch or 2 better than Josh Allen. The question is whether the Jets still have something left in the tank off back-to-back competitive losses, including the one in OT last week.
Teddy, next game up, we got 309-310 in the NFC East. Philadelphia at Washington. Philadelphia is still in the hunt, and the betting market's pricing them 6.5 pretty much across the board. Favored on the road, 41.5 the total.
Yeah, we talked about the Giants not beating teams by margin. Not like the Eagles have been beating teams by margin this season either. They have a win against the Giants, where they blew them out, and then the win against the Redskins. The 2 divisional opponents for Philly. One of them was on a short week, and the game against Washington was in many ways a debacle, that game for the Redskins. It wasn't typical of their season, and certainly one that they'll remember here, although, it's hard to make a case for the Redskins, right? The DJ Swearinger situation, where, here's a contributing player on your team, and then you bench him, and then you cut him, and then he goes on the air and says he got cut, and then his teammates come out and tweet in favor of him, and it doesn't feel good in Washington right now. You worry about the defense this week in particular, but make no mistake about it, from a power rating perspective, you're not getting any bargains on the Eagles. They are being priced like a must-win team, and they have not been winning games by margin all year, and their secondary remains an injury-riddled mess. So, I can understand the case. Philly's got to win. The Redskins stink. I get it. But from a value standpoint, you're laying a premium with Nick Foles and company for a team that doesn't have a good defense and hasn't been covering numbers like this at any point this season.
Teddy, the games we've talked about have all had one team either still in the hunt, something to play for, let's say. Their season is still alive. Next game up, we got 3-11, 3-12, Detroit, Green Bay. Both of these two teams out of it. Week 17, nothing to play for. How do you handle this type of scenario as far as being a bettor in Week 17?
You look at effort, What happened last week? Packers had nothing to play for last week. What'd they do? They fought tooth and nail, man.
Yeah.
They could have lost that game. They could have laid down. Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers is like, no. We still have something left in the tank. And you read the quotes out of Green Bay this week, and I'm seeing similar concepts from the Packers where, we're not going to lay down. We still got games in front of us. We haven't quit. And that's how how I approach games with two teams with quote unquote nothing to play for is you look at how they've been playing.
So then
the Lions, Detroit came, the Green Bay came to play last week. Does that mean they'll do it again? And I would think that they would, even off the overtime win. I haven't gotten any sense that the Packers are like, yeah, well, see you next year. And I think the Packers are coming to play. If you've watched the Lions over the course of the last month, you're not putting any money on Detroit. There was two teams. There was three teams that looked pretty quit last week. And, when I see a team that looked quit in Week 17 or Week 16, I ain't backing them in Week 17. And one of those three teams, I'll get to all three of them, obviously. Well, I don't know if I will because I'm not doing the whole NFL. But Detroit looked dead as a doornail last week against Minnesota at home. Lambeau's been a house of horrors for them over the years. They have no playmakers left except for Galladay, and teams are triple teaming him right now because he's the only one they got. I don't want the Lions this week. It's Packers or pass for me.
That makes sense, Dave. Thanks for explaining that scenario because that's an interesting one in the NFL. You coming into Week 17, that can mean a lot. Motivation is key. We got 3-13, 3-14 up next. Jacksonville, Houston, NFC South matchup here. The best team versus the worst team as far as standings go. 40 being the total, Teddy. 6.5. That's what Houston's laying at home.
By the way, the other two teams that looked lifeless enough last week that I would have no interest in them in Week 17, the Arizona Cardinals and the Denver Broncos. In fact, I just posted a free play against the Denver Broncos up at Sportsmemo.com. When it comes to the Jags and the Texans, I mean, Jacksonville last week, Jacksonville last week brought it on the defensive side of the football, and we've seen them do that throughout this run. It's been a miserable. What are they, 2-9 in their last 11 games? And the defense has still been good enough for them to win games. They shut out Indy. Last week they had a pick six, which equaled all the points Miami scored in the game, and the offense got 10. They won the game against Indy where they scored 6. So it's not about the offense for the Jags right now. And if Houston can put the biscuit in the basket, if Houston scores points in this game, the Jags are in trouble. Jacksonville is going back to Blake Bortles this week. Bortles came in last week and led them on the game-winning field goal drive after Cody Kessler was, I don't know if he was injured or mercifully benched. Kessler was on the bench for a reason before Bortles, and he's saying all the right things going to this matchup. I don't know that it's a good matchup for that offense, although I don't know there's any good matchups for the Jags offense. The question here is what, and Jacksonville defensively, they gave Deshaun Watson trouble in the first meeting. I remember that game. The Jags were, the pass rush was there. They put Watson on his back a bunch of times, and we didn't see a whole lot of open Texans receivers downfield in that ball game. Although Houston's offense is certainly, it's been clicking of late. You look at their last 5 games. They had the one loss to Indy, where they were a little bit flat, and they'd won all those games in a row, and it just wasn't a good spot for them. But other than that, the last 5 weeks, they've scored more than 4 touchdowns 4 times. Coming off a loss against Philly, Texans got to win this game. They're a must-win team here if they want to clinch the division and get a home game next weekend. I don't want the dog in this one.
Guys, one game left here, and remember Teddy's tremendous trifecta on sportsmemo.com. You can get it for just $19 using the coupon code TEDDY19 at checkout. That's at sportsmemo.com. We got 3:15, 3:16 to end this segment, Teddy. Then we'll be back with Robbie Vino to finish out the card. Cleveland, Baltimore, 40.5 the total. Ravens laying 5.5 or 6 at home.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating game right here. We look at Baltimore, and myself included, a lot of us were looking at the Ravens. All right, well, they kind of got back on track with Lamar Jackson at QB, and they beat Cincy, and they beat Oakland, and they beat Atlanta. You're like, all right, you're beating some bottom feeders. Let's see if you can do it for real. Well, over the last 3 weeks, they beat Kansas City, or they covered against Kansas City, but did they compete in that game and hang tough with a really good team? Yes, they did. Last week, winning on the road at LA and shutting that team down. Both the wins predicated on that Ravens defense, which is number one in the NFL in a whole bunch of different statistical categories. That's not necessarily what you want when you're Baker Mayfield and company coming off another big win. And, oh, by the way, the Ravens are in revenge for an earlier loss to the Browns, 12-9, back when Joe Flacco was still at quarterback for Baltimore. But, you read the quotes out of Cleveland. Greg Williams says, hey, man, we're treating this like a playoff game. And this is our playoff game. It's a Browns team that has a chance to finish over 500. Cleveland's coming to play this week. While their recent wins, again, Cincinnati, Carolina, Denver, Cincinnati again, Atlanta, their recent wins aren't against the better teams in the league. There's certainly a fair bit of confidence out there for Cleveland now that they can hang tough with teams like this one. Fascinating game. And I'll be in action on this one. So if you get that tremendous trifecta, I get my play on the Browns and the Ravens.
Good stuff, Teddy. And what else you got on tap for this weekend?
Well, we got bowl. We got a big ticket bowl tonight. Friday night Alamo Bowl actions, and of course we'll have bowl action tomorrow. The NBA for this evening. We'll have a college hoops report for Saturday. There's a ton going on right now, and it's a real good opportunity to build your bankroll a little bit before the new year rolls around. You get on board right now at sportsmemo.com. Hey, you give them all the details, Drew. I'm bad at sales.
No, it's you got a lot this weekend, especially. I mean, the all access package. We got 3-day, 7-day, 30-day, 90-day, depending what your budget is. And the longer you go, the more you save, and it's a great time of year to have that all access. Like Teddy just said, bunch of sports going on. Also, a lot for the odds makers to do. You look at this card; they got a lot of sports to put odds up on, Teddy. You look at that college basketball card for Saturday. I'd hate to be putting numbers up for that. Plus, you got the NFL playoffs, bowl games. Capping motivation. That's so tough for them. So I think this time of year is a great time to be a sports bettor, Teddy.
It's a lot of fun to be a sports bettor, and it's especially fun when you're winning bets.
All right, Teddy. Well, thanks for the time, man. Enjoy the holiday weekend. And we got NFL opening line report on Monday?
Yeah, sure. We'll do it New Year's. We did it Christmas Eve. We can do it New Year's Eve. We'll do a quick little pop. And again, there's not a ton of games next week, but it's always good to give you guys an idea of where the lines are going to move and what you want to bet early and what you want to bet late. So, of course, Monday morning, bright and early, we'll do the opening line report like we do every week at sportsmemo.com.
All right, great stuff, Teddy. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. Best of luck with your bets out there, everybody. We'll be right back with Robbie Vino. And, guys, remember the coupon code TEDDY19 at checkout for tremendous trifecta on Sunday NFL action. Thanks for tuning in.
Only 3 days to go to get your millionaire raffle ticket before they're gone. With 1 millionaire guaranteed, over 5,500 cash prizes, and our best win odds ever, you can win it. Even your granny is learning ukulele can win it.
Oh, dear.
Play responsibly in store, in-app, or at lottery.ie.
I'm a millionaire.
Only 3 days to go to get your millionaire raffle ticket before they're gone. With 1 millionaire guaranteed, over 5,500 cash prizes, and our best win odds ever, you can win it. Even your granny is learning ukulele can win it.
Oh, dear.
Play responsibly in store, in-app, or at lottery.ie.
I'm a millionaire.